is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
What was that freeze all about?
I don't know. Did I freeze? Did I?
You did right at the most inopportune time. Hello.
Blah.
It was actually frozen. It was like you pretending to freeze.
That was me pretending to be frozen.
What an actor.
Tempting fate now. Completely tempting fate. 100% going to cause a problem going forward. Touch wood. My internet's really, really good today.
Oh, don't. Why jinx it? Why say things like that?
I don't know. Just saying. It is. It's flying today, mate. Lightning. Super speedy.
After all the problems that Virtue Leaders had all week, your
Have they had problems, have they?
It was down like overnight, like twice in a week.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice. But I was probably asleep if it was overnight.
Well, that could be a reason.
Have you had a good Easter weekend, Magsy?
I have, yeah. I've had a lot of fun. I got some lovely Easter presents, some chickens. I got some actual human chickens. Well, not human,
chickens. What, like the gobbledygooker? You've got a load of Guerreros running around.
He's rocking up at this year's Survivor Series. No, but I actually got some proper chickens.
I bet you sent me a picture. I know it was lovely.
They are. They're lovely, cute little chickens.
And then you were mean to your missus, weren't you, when she had some eggs?
Yeah, because she if she hears me telling you this, she will go mental. But yeah, she was having the British classic egg and chips, and I looked at her in disgust and said, "You're eating the babies of chickens." And she's like, "Don't do that, don't, because I'll never eat eggs again." And I giggled whilst happily tucking into a chicken burger because I have no remorse.
What a bastard. Magsy, we have got so much on this show, haven't we?
No, and here we are filling the first few minutes with this utter trap about having chickens and annoying the missus.
Human chickens.
Human
chickens. We have got quite a long wrestling match to cover later on. We obviously got this week's entrance into the Hall of Lane. I've got something I wish to address before that, however, but we've also got a massive non-wrestling topic. So I guess, Magsy, we better get on with the show, hadn't we?
We had. Let's do it.
We had. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the New Year's resolution to my all-year confusion. It's true. The Elimination Chamber to my need maybe for a disclaimer, because I might lose my temper in a few moments. We'll get into that shortly. A podcaster that, just like the world title in the start of 2005, pretty vacant, Mr. Mags with his human chickens.
That would be very mean. I'm not sending you any eggs now in the post. No, that was mean.
In an envelope via Royal Mail. Do you think they make it?
With Royal Mail, even if they're in a box, they wouldn't actually make it right now. I know I am. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm clucking. How about yourself? How was your Easter?
Right, yeah, that's right. Lots of recordings, actually. Lots of watching stuff, research, making notes and recordings, and I had a great time. Me and Scottish Danny got through loads of episodes of Nitro because it's fantastic TV at the moment for Nitro Nights. And every time we finish an episode, we can't wait to record, so we get to watch the next one because it's really good telly. So that's working out quite well.
Efficient. So efficient.
It is. I mean, don't get me wrong. When we hit like 99. We're going to be like, should we bother this week?
Yeah.
But speaking of Scottish Danny, I see his little name popping up there in the chat. Who has joined us early doors, Mr. Mags?
Well, very, very early doors. Pig's Bladders trying to manipulate the system by saying he's only posting this as he really wants me to have to read it out. I want to say one thing to the CWF people. I want you to listen to me. And bear in mind, this is coming from Pig's Bladders, not me, Mags. This is from Pig's Bladders. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. Those allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the CWF people. Thank you. Very, very funny. I believe that you did have sexual relations with that woman, King Pig's Bladders, and you didn't just blart all over her skirt.
God.
Yep. As is tradition, Sharon in the chat with "It's Monday." You know what that means. Connor in the chat, hello, sir. How are you? And Scottish Danny, hello, good sir. And it's time to enter the elimination chamber. Oh, what a player!
Oh, that's good.
Comedy genius there. And then Sharon saying she's going to be in and out, and she's a deadline that she's been ignoring. But I will have to hear. But I will be able to hear Mags and Sa. That may ruin your deadline, to be quite fair.
Yeah.
I would be the last person I would want to listen to if I had a deadline to keep up to.
Have you had a bit of a shave and a haircut?
I did about an hour ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look like
an egg.
I look like a baby. I look like an egg. like Fantastic Dizzy.
Oh, Dizzy, yeah. Do you remember that? That was great, that wasn't it?
No, I don't remember it at all. I don't even know where that come from. No. Of course I bloody remember it. That's why I said it.
Yes. Yeah. It was on the Amstrad, wasn't it? Dizzy.
Yeah. I played it on the Amstrad and the Specker.
I had the Spectrum. Good times. Good times.
Brilliant times, yeah.
just gonna sit here quietly and reminisce now about old computer games. No, we need to get on, Mags. We need to get on because I have work in the morning and I don't want to be still sat here at midnight talking about various different things. So before we get to the Hall of Lame this week, I've got some bad news, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
There's some other piece of shit we need to address.
Pimple alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
Indeed. Following on from the rightful destruction and calling of a pimple dick on Rick Steiner last week for his quite disgusting comments about Giselle Shaw and transgender people in general and so on. We have somebody who we've had a little bit of fun with in the past. One of the very early entrants into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame, actually, Magsy. And I'm wondering now, just off the top of my head, is this the first time that somebody's been a pimple dick and a Hall of Lame entrant as well?
It's the first that I can remember. We had a spate where we haven't had a pimple dick for quite a while. So now 2 in 2 weeks. So wrestling is getting dickish again.
Yes, indeed. The person I am referring to is an individual by the name of Mike Halleck. Now, other people may know him better as his former wrestling guys on WWF television, that being Mantor, the big cow-headed, bull-shaped buffoon that he is. Now, somehow, and I'm not certain how. I imagine it was pissed up and so on. And I don't know if I requested or he requested or it popped up on the people you may know because there's certain wrestlers I'm friends with on Facebook and you get those suggestions popping up, that sort of stuff. Somehow, I've ended up friends with Mantor on Facebook, which sounds ridiculous in itself. Let's be honest. Me and old Mantor buddies on the old Book of Face, but it's not really something I've paid much attention to because, Facebook isn't something I use masses for anyway. I got the group on there for the network and we share the shows and so on. It's nice for the Facebook memories, the old pictures of the kids and all that sort of stuff. And, just keeping in contact with family members. But something flagged up on my Facebook the other night. And I was like, well, literally with the words ringing in my ears from last week's Pimple Dick section of, if you see somebody being a piece of shit, you should probably call them out.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having to respond to a status that I'll keep calling him Mantor rather than Mike. Something that he posted on his Facebook page. Let me just scan through because there's 2 different things I want to address, but I'm going to address this one first, which is at a slightly later date. We have here, ask not why the children shouldn't see drag queens. Ask why drag queens crave an audience of children. Now, that's bad enough. Just insinuating that, because that's not stating anything in particular. That's in theory, I guess you could say that it's actually asking a question as opposed to insinuating any particular thoughts or whatever. But it's fairly obvious what old Mantor is getting at there, isn't it? But it doesn't stop there, because this pimple dick doesn't just go to Mantor. It goes to some of the other people that he's friends with on Facebook as well. One being an individual by the name of Mr. George, who just responded, nice. You're a piece of shit. The next one on the status is actually me saying, again, because it says ask not why this, why that. So I did. Okay, I'll ask why. Because I thought, let's see what we get from this nonsense. We have an individual who then responds, the same reason that clowns and kids are around each other and nobody questions it. Now, I'm not 100% sure what they're getting at with that. There's another person here, Mr. Casey, who says, you don't cast bait where there are no fish. So this is getting a little bit closer to what I think they're trying. And again, my issue is obviously what they're hinting at, but it's also the fact that they're spineless pieces of shit and not just coming outright and stating what they think. They're talking in metaphors and dancing around, and so on. So I again tried to give these people the opportunity to explain what they were getting at, the opportunity to elaborate or perhaps explain that I've misunderstood, which is still potentially possible, I guess. So I asked the question. I don't quite follow. I apologize. We're talking about clowns and fishing, are we? To which point we got a response from Mantor himself saying that you don't quite follow because you might just be the clown. Not 100% sure what that means. I don't quite understand that. Is he calling me obviously he's making reference here to clowns and drag queens being some form of paedophile, I'm assuming, is what is fairly obvious is what they're hinting at, isn't it? So I'm not sure if he's accusing me of being that way. I'm not 100% sure. I've asked him to define clown in this scenario, please. What exactly are you referencing me as? To which point he responds, obviously you, as his definition of a clown, if you can't follow the conversation. So once again, spineless piece of crap won't nail his colours to the mast and just come out with what he's really thinking. I went on to basically explain, what do you mean? Thinking about drag queens crave an audience of children. Can you explain what you mean? And we had a few other issues going back and forth. And then a few other people jumped in stating this is wrong. You shouldn't be talking like this. What are you on about here? This is disgusting. It's such a weird question. One person here states drag queens do not seek out kids. Somebody else here states, for fuck's sake, there's more straight non-drag queen men that go after children than drag queens themselves. I mean, obviously I don't have the statistics, but I'm assuming that is correct. I then asked the question once again, because this has gone on effectively for a day at this stage with various comments going in. I've still had no real clear explanation of the original post by Mantor or the comments by, and then a few people's names I've added here as well. I don't understand why this is being referred to as nice either, and then tagged it the individual who's also saying that. Maybe I'm being naive, but talking in metaphors and not answering my questions directly doesn't seem to be helping with anyone's puzzlement. Basically, what are you getting at? I then get a response from the person who initially said that the original post was nice, hinting at drag queens seeking out children, stating for me to politely walk away from big boy topics.
Oh dear.
And then they wrote, thanks, kind regards, which is polite to them. I then responded to this individual. As potentially patronizing as that reply is, I still don't really have any answer from you all. Everyone's dancing around the point you're trying to make. I'm asking you a direct question. Kind regards, of course, is how I responded to them. And again, it just went round and round and round in circles. Nobody actually answered any of this stuff. It was all just very pathetic, shithousery, spineless behaviour, and casting aspersions on people that I think are pretty disgusting, Mags. Now, this goes on. There's more to it. I'm not going to dive into any more because it is just, again, more of the same nonsense. And Mantor and his collection of moronic friends saying the same things over and over again. But what troubles me further is, well, in addition to this, I actually messaged Mantor directly and asked the question. Didn't want to comment initially publicly on Facebook, but I'm curious as to what you mean by this post. Can you explain your thoughts, please? Giving him an opportunity to, answer or explain in private. 2 messages were sent, 2 messages were seen, 2 messages were ignored. Again, you're a shithouse, Mantor. You want to spite your fucking your horrific attitude towards groups of people online, but not defend yourself. It shows you're a shithouse. You're a spineless piece of crap. Going back a little bit further through his timeline and so on, I want to leave everybody effectively with this from his Facebook page before I summarize what we're getting at here. Mike Halak, Mantor on Facebook. For the record, there is no room in sports if you identify as transgender. Read that again. In case, because obviously the first time reading it wasn't horrific enough. He insinuated, he basically says we should read that again. A man that identifies as a woman should not be participating in women's sports. Now, that's a whole different conversation for a different day because of, different levels of certain testosterone, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not going to get into that now. That's not the point. What follows is how I want to basically summarize my thoughts on this person. Yes, I said it. And then trying to defend his thoughts here on the transgender population, people, community. He states he's not racist, because that's relevant. You dumb motherfucker. We're talking about sports here. And just to make sure that everyone understands he's not trying to be rude for the sake of being rude, he then says, as well as not being racist, I have plenty of gay friends. Well done, Mantor, you fucking asshole. Somebody asked the question, how do you feel about transgenders in pro wrestling? And this is what really sort of ties us back into the Rick Steiner nonsense we had last week. And I'm going to read this out, but I hate having to say this, but please bear with me because this is a direct quote from Mantor himself. I stand by my opinion, bro. There's no room in a locker room for a he, she, or a she, he.
Oh, Jesus.
Nice. The reason I'm bringing this horrific attitude and behavior and wording up is twofold. One, and this is where I said potentially we need a bit of a disclaimer. It's gone 9 o'clock. I understand that my children may be listening, and I apologize in advance for using language that people may not like, but this guy's a cunt. He's a vile piece of shit. He's transphobic. He comes across homophobic in some of his other comments he has written as well. But obviously, he gets away with it because as he states, he has gay friends. What a piece of crap. And also, for some reason, he's okay to be transphobic because he's not racist. That just sums up the level of intelligence this guy has, which, by the way, if anyone can't pick up on that, is fucking zero. This guy is a moron. He literally, you look at the guy, and honestly, I think that he's one of these people that is potentially living on a trailer park, and he is the product of a brother and sister sleeping together. Both his eyes stare at his own nose, and he dribbles down himself when he's eating his dinner. That's the impression I get from Mantor. Okay, now
maybe his dad was an actual bull.
Maybe. Now, the second thing I want to bring attention to this for was Rick Steiner. We joked about not being relevant anymore, but this was exposed. Rick Steiner's behavior and disgusting attitude at WrestleCon last week or the week before was exposed. He was called out, and effectively he was punished. He's now no longer making money working with WrestleCon, and the wrestling community, rightfully so, banded around the wonderful Giselle Shaw and put Rick Steiner in his place. And effectively, I don't know if the term is cancelled him. I don't know if it's gone that far, but he has been called out in a very public and effectively international way because we're in the UK and we know about it. This guy, Mantor, he's even in his prime, he wasn't as relevant as a 25-year retired Rick Steiner is now. So his transphobic, I'm going to throw it out there, potentially racist and potentially homophobic, purely because I'm going to band all those things into the same bracket because he's that kind of mouth-breathing moron on his council estate or trailer park trash shit. chasing his own cousin around because he thinks she's attractive. That kind of environment. He gets away with this because he's in his own little echo chamber, surrounded by his own mouth-breathing, trailer park trash, cousin-chasing morons on his Facebook page agreeing with him. And what makes it even worse is that when somebody, myself, calls this person out because he's so irrelevant, he goes under the radar and is allowed to get away with it. When he is called out by somebody, he's an absolute shithouse, won't respond, ignores the messages that were worded incredibly politely, and I'm willing to show anybody anything they need to see from my end, his end, whatever. The guy is a spineless, transphobic, homophobic piece of shit. And Mantor, you're scum. You are scum. And that's why there's no other alternative than to chuck you down as a pimple dick with chain wrestling. You are vile. And I hope nasty, nasty things happen to you because you're talking about people who just want to live their life and be happy. And you're wishing them ill respect. And you're wishing them bad times. And that's disgusting. You're gross. You're horrific. You're mouth-breathing piece of crap.
Totally agree. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's a horrific mindset to have. For a little bit of context, I mean, I didn't know any of the Mantor stuff. I've never had a Facebook account, never will. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Mantor and I aren't mutuals on any social media. But the drag queen thing has been in the news quite a lot lately, and I think it's safe to assume that that Mantor is a dad in the wool Republican, a Donald Trump loving dickhead, because essentially the targeting of drag queens and this kind of like blasé way of accusing them of pedophilia is one of the Republicans' major kind of tickets for their party policies. Again, it's kind of it's the old tactic in politics where if something has gone wrong and you are to blame for something, you point at a minority or a group that is discriminated against, and you say it's their fault that this bad thing has happened. Don't blame us, the politicians, the ones in charge. It's these people. We get it here in the UK with immigrants now. It's happening with immigrants. Suella Braverman and Rishi Sunak saying we're stopping the people coming over on small boats, refugees. Don't blame us for what's happened over the last 30 years. It's these immigrants. And the drag queen thing has kind of permeated a little bit into British politics. But in America, it's front and center. There's so many big politicians making a big stand about these drag queens. And it's a non-issue. It's an absolute non-issue. Next, you'll be saying that you can't watch pantomime because blokes play the women characters. It's next you won't be allowed to watch Punch and Judy because there's a bloke with a female puppet. It's ridiculous. Of all the things to pin your flag to, it's quite clear he hasn't got an original thought of his own, and he's just feeding off whatever Republican bullshit comes his way because he's so indoctrinated in that system. And this is not me defending Mantor. He's an absolute piece of shit. And anyone who believes this kind of stuff is an absolute piece of shit. But there are also systems above Mantor that are happy to divide and conquer the population because it serves them. So yeah, this is bigger than Mantor by a long stretch, but he is an absolute piece of bullshit.
Yeah, he is, exactly. And again, I just want to reiterate what we said. I mean, first of all, Facebook user, this is Dave Harry Pyle, one of my friends from many, many years ago. So, well, I say many years ago. We're still friends now.
No, after your rant about drag queens.
Well, there we go. But Yeah, hello, mate. It's just when people comment on the Facebook group, it only comes up to us as Facebook user, so we don't know who it is. So yeah, chain wrestling itself, the CWF, etc. As we've stated over and over and over again for the 100 and what are we on now, 16 episodes or whatever it may well be. Chain wrestling is for everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, trans, whatever. No one cares. If you're happy in your life and you love pro wrestling and you enjoy just coming to somewhere safe where you're not going to get judged or have names called or anything like that, then we're happy to have you.
Correct.
You know, we've got no room for assholes. We've got no room for bigotry. We've got no room for pieces of shit like Rick Steiner and Mantor. You can both get in the fucking bin, you disgusting pieces of crap.
Chain wrestling is for everyone, except Rick Steiner and Mantor.
Exactly. So then, Magsy, with that in mind, shall we move on and chuck some stuff into the Hall of Lame and then come back to the chat afterwards?
We shall. Let's refresh the palate.
Indeed.
The Hall of
Z, what have you got for us?
So your rant about Manto actually is a really good segue into my entrant for this week's Hall of Lame. So social media, as you quite aptly proved, it's a double-edged sword. On one side, especially in wrestling, it gives you the opportunity to have more access to your favorite wrestlers, your favorite companies than ever before. It gives the wrestlers the opportunity to interact with their fans and make it a more personal experience for both the wrestlers and the fans. And some wrestling talent have made this this kind of leap into social media, and they've done it with flying colours. You look at accounts like the Iron Sheik, his Twitter account is elite level. The guy is just
fantastic.
He's born for Twitter. You get guys like Rey Mysterio who use their social media to really get a personal relationship with their fans and really kind of be positive. Then you get the ones that mostly do well, but can sometimes be bitten by social media. Guys like Seth Rollins, he can sometimes tweet some stuff that gets taken out of context a little bit. Kenny Omega gets that sometimes as well. Will Ospreay is often tweeting stuff that gets him a little bit of grief. And then you get the people who social media is not really for them.
Okay.
Marty Jannetty's. Social media is not for him. Mantor, quite clearly, as you proved, it's not really for him. Ryback, social media told him to go away in multiple polls, and he didn't listen. So I don't think social media is quite for him.
No.
But then there's a level above that, and that is the brother level. There's a person who just social media has never gone well for, and that's the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Oh dear. Okay.
So I'm going to go through a few examples of why social media hasn't really worked for the Hulkster. So going back to the beginning of his life on Twitter, his first tweet in 2010 was just him shouting "help." Followed this up by tweeting the word "ah," just not like the "I," but just as in him, "ah."
So the single letter.
Just a single letter, yeah. Capital
Because
letter.
your accent didn't make it sound like you were saying "I." Then it made it sound like you were saying something else.
Okay. I, as in me. A couple of months into his Twitter life, he decided it wasn't for him and tweeted out, "Can I text you instead?" He didn't kind of go away from Twitter though. In 2011, he decided to use it to push a new catchphrase. He was sick of the eating your vitamins, saying your prayers stuff. So he decided to reply to every tweet to him by saying, "Be cool and eat fruit." Not as catchy as "What You Gonna Do," but there we go. He then tweeted out the infamous, and I'm going to read this verbatim: "Good night, Hulkamaniacs and jabroni marks without a laugh that don't know it a work when you work and work yourself into a shoot, marks." Famous tweet, and a motto we should all live our life by, I think.
Of course. I've got it engraved upon the wall.
2012, he retweeted an account that had said they went balls deep on Brooke, Hogan's daughter. He retweeted that.
Oh my God.
Speaking of Brooke, he also posted pics of his daughter's legs on his Instagram account. In 2013, he live tweeted his injuries from when a radiator burst and he was scalded with hot water, and he signed off the tweets with "triple ouch." And then we start getting a little bit more risque with his tweeting. He was tricked into retweeting a picture of Madeleine McCann. And the person who sent it in claimed that they had won the world's biggest hide and seek competition.
Oh my God.
In 2015, he was duped into giving killer Raoul Mort a shout out twice, not once.
Twice.
That year, he retweeted a picture of Joseph Fritzl, who was photoshopped into a WWE World's Greatest Dad t-shirt. It was definitely not a good year for the Hulkster, because the big news about Hogan in that year was he let slip that he was a massive racist, and he thought he would use social media to right the ship a little bit about this mindset that he was a racist. So he started retweeting people, essentially the same as what Mantor said. He has gay friends, but Hulk went with the "I have a black friend" mode, where he was retweeting pictures of famous black footballers who claimed they were fans and they didn't believe that Hogan was racist. So there were pictures of Colo Torre, Danny Welbeck, Rio Ferdinand, and surprisingly, Jack Wilshere, who wasn't that black.
Well, you say
Hogan
wasn't, he still isn't.
Yeah, exactly. In a further effort to prove he wasn't racist and he was being unfairly treated, he retweeted an account that said if Barack Obama can say the N-word and keep his job, that Hogan should be able to say the N-word and keep his job too. Now, Barack did say the N-word, but he was using it in context on a podcast to say basically how the use of the word is it should be banned, basically. But Hogan wanted to say that if the president can say it, goddamn, the Hulkster can. So this wasn't the end. He's not had a good time on social media. He tweeted his support for a fan who claimed their sister was HIV positive, but the picture of the fan's sister was Cheryl Cole. He doxed himself when he tweeted out his own personal phone number.
Oh my word.
He posted a picture of Bam Margera and said he was so sad that his friend Bam had passed away. Bam Margera is not dead, and he mistook Bam for Ryan Dunn, and Bam actually replied saying, "Oh, I'm glad you love me, but I'm actually not dead." He retweeted an account that posted a picture of Bret Hart when the account claimed it was his Uncle Tim. He posted a picture of himself holding his phone up with an image of AJ Styles on it, and then stood next to Hogan was a guy that the Hulkster claimed could be AJ Styles' brother. But it could have only been AJ Styles' brother if they had a different dad and a different mum and never looked like each other in the history of the world. And then earlier this year, he sent out a disturbing cry for help on Twitter. He said that he had run out of toilet paper.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And then to kind of cap things off for Hogan and his dalliances with social media, he signs off all of his tweets with HH, which is all good because it's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Except HH is also the calling card for some not so nice people. I mean, you probably know them as Nazis. They're fond of obviously that famous Austrian painter Adolf Hitler, and HH stands for Heil Hitler. Yeah,
I didn't even make that link.
He's not had a fun time. So this week, Hulk Hogan and his ridiculous social media is going in the Hall of Fame.
Oh man, that one, like, he's run out of toilet paper.
That was literally this year. He said, "I need help. I have run out of toilet paper."
What's he expecting people to do? Just migrate to his house with rolls
I believe that was meant to be a message to someone else, like a text.
Yeah.
And he's tweeted it out to the world.
Probably to Brutus Beefcake.
I'm coming, Hogan.
I'll wipe it for you. Come on, brother. Quick. Hulk Hogan's social media activity. Yes, indeed. Mine for the Hall of Fame this week is to do with, I suppose, something fairly topical. Vince McMahon's creative. People are arguing if he's back in charge again and stuff like that, aren't they? Now, I had a few options, so we might be revisiting some others in the future. But the one that really stood out to me was, you remember when we were getting all the talent from NXT coming up, and everyone was like, these guys are going to be superstars, look what they've done in NXT, and so on. Some did well, some not so well, as, you know, very well documented. But this particular, not even a gimmick change, just an addition to a character, I still find absolutely baffling. And it was dropped as quickly as it came along. And I still find it completely just so obscure and alien. If you've got one of the greatest in-ring performers of his generation on your roster, you then decide to give him, you know, this whole background of being ridiculously strong, which is carried off in the ring as well by some of the feats of strength he displays. He's having wonderful, fantastic wrestling matches with all sorts of opponents, all sorts of sizes and styles and techniques. You then give that individual the United States Championship. Things are looking good. The crowd are cheering for him. He's over. You don't really need to tinker with that at that moment in time, do you? However, in 2013, Cesaro, in the middle of a United States Championship title reign, doing very well for himself, considering he's come up through NXT, and these people don't tend to do that well under McMahon's regime, all of a sudden had this addition to his character that he liked a bit of a sing-song, Mags. But not just any sing-song, because he's from Switzerland. So he would come to the ring and yodel for everybody.
That very Swiss pastime.
Exactly. That's you can't walk 10 yards in Switzerland without being bumping into a yodeler. I'll tell you that now. It's a nightmare over there, mate. Now, again, this gimmick was dropped as quickly as it arrived. But the biggest thing for me was how unnecessary it was at that moment. How it really took the wind out of the sails of Cesaro because it made him a joke. And then how it made the United States title by association seem worthless. Just because Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and all his usual little group of friends decided he needs something else. So randomly, this guy was going to yodel. And I implore people to go and check it. Not spend too much time because it's not fun. It's not good, but it needs to be seen. Go and check out Yodeling Cesaro. And just remember, this guy is a wrestling machine. But again, it just comes back to, why does his mind work this way? Why can't we have nice things, Mags?
I think with Vince, it's if it's not his product, if it's not his idea, he doesn't want it to succeed. I mean, like you said, Cesaro was over. He was so soloed. He had his own section.
Yes,
The Cesaro section.
it killed that off. It killed that
Yeah.
off.
What kind of creative meeting goes, oh, Cesaro's doing great numbers. His merch sales are up. The fans are loving him. He's getting good reactions. Let's make him yodel.
It's such good shit.
Even if you're going to get a yodeling character in the year 2013, how is that getting over? This is new generation bullshit. This is we've got a plumber, we've got an ice skater, we've got someone who works the bins. We need a yodeler. This is the work rate era. This is where wrestlers are real people and extremely talented. And he wants someone to come down wearing lederhosen and yodeling. It's fucking ridiculous.
It is, but again, we can't have nice things. So those are your entrants into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame this week. We have Hulk Hogan's funny, odd, and very cringy social media activity. And we have yodeling Cesaro. There we go.
Ridiculous.
Magsy, shall we dive into the chat before we actually get on to our non-wrestling topic this week?
Exactly. So a lot of love for Mantor. First, we'll start with this. Wrestling is getting dickish again. Love this quote. That may or may not end up being a Chain Wrestling t-shirt. Scottish Danny disappointed because he wanted Mantor in the Hall of Fame for years. King's Pigs Batters saying what an absolute cotwomble. And then Scottish Danny when Sar says 90s WF star on Facebook, I automatically thought, what has Marty Jannetty done now? Exactly.
Oh, I've had loads of fun interactions with Marty Jannetty as well. We can get to them another day.
King's Pigs Banner says Marty Jannetty is the go-to. And for the first time in maybe history, Sharon has no words. So peaceful night for you tonight, sir. Scottish Danny, there's no room in a locker room for Mantar either. Twat. Connor, I really don't understand why it's hard to get along. And on this kind of behavior is really not needed, and it's motivating to get into law school and become a civil lawyer representing LGBTQ people. Yeah, I have never, as a middle-aged, privileged white person, I have never understood the fascination of beating down other members of society. It's just not something that's ever entered my head, and I am ashamed of my generation as a whole for taking this kind of like man set up. If people are happy, if people are comfortable with who they are, why does it affect you? Why does it bother you?
Yeah,
it's their happiness. I would hate to be that kind of person who stops somebody from just being happy. And if you're not happy because of the body you're in, or because of the abuse you're getting from your sexuality, or anything that makes you different and unique, I feel your pain, because it's sad that we can't just be happy for people, and I just don't understand that mindset. It just annoys me. It absolutely annoys me.
Yeah, I don't.
And then saying that, this ban annoys me as well, because he made us watch Gilbert Evening CWF. Hello, sir. How are you? Scottish Daddy, you dropped in at a lovely time, Cam. And Sharon swearing, calling him a pedic. I'm assuming that's C bomb. C bomb.
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay. I don't think it is that, is it? That's your mate Dave. Slight wrong choose of words there, but he does retract and says changes his greeting as he agrees entirely. All right, you big pair of sexual wrestling beer beasts. See, that's more like it. Live and let live, sir.
Beasts. I like that.
Connor says all politicians are old lying cheats who need to get out of office. That goes for both parties. The same.
Few internet issues there. Can people in the chat let me know if it's my end or Magsy's end? Magsy's frozen for me. Is that an issue that I have, or is it? What are you seeing in the chat, please? People in the CWF, if you would, let me know. Thank you very much. What we have then, let's have a little look and see if I can. I've got to scroll all the way back up. Get rid of that one, and then we have. Look at me trying to use the chat. Aren't I clever? Cam Griffin there saying he's still waiting for his toilet roll in reference to Hulk Hogan, which is brilliant. Scottish Danny laughing away, rightfully so, at the great racist orange one. Always funny to giggle at that buffoon. We have Dave Ari, my friend, on Facebook here saying, please can you say twice and Ryback again, Mags, you bloody legend. He's obviously not here, internet issues, so I'll do my best in the Magsy voice. Twice. I think that's kind of how it goes, isn't it? I'm hoping he's not back yet so he can't hear me do that, because otherwise he'll be cross. Hulk Hogan has had a huge fall from grace, Connor says. And it's a real shame. It's a real shame because Hogan... I mean, I was a Hulkamaniac, 7, 8 years of age, and seeing what's happened with Hogan and the whole race issue stuff and all that sort of thing, it's upsetting. Your heroes you put up on a pedestal as a kid, don't you? And it's a real shame when you see them basically fall apart, and then that is sad. That is sad. Sharon, my lovely lady here in the chat, saying, "Oh my God, totally forgot about that." With regards to the yodeling Cesaro, and also saying here, she hates the treatment of NXT talent. I mean, Butch, what the fuck? Yes, very true. Pete Dunne was fantastic in NXT, but there's so many of them, isn't there, that come up from NXT? And I look at tag teams as well. Tag teams just don't work out at all on the main roster, and I really don't know why. We have Matt Willis, or should I say Matt Lewis. Congratulations, my friend. I know I mentioned it on Twitter, I believe. I want to say it now whilst you're in the chat. Congratulations, Matt, to you and your partner, Chris, on tying the knot. Hopefully it was a fantastic time, a lovely ceremony. Really sorry me and Sharon couldn't make it. But yes, he says Yodelay. And he's correcting his own name there as well, Matt Willis. Magnificent, apologies. Matt Lewis, he says, of course. And we have other people popping in and saying hi. Cam saying hi to Matt and congratulations on tying the knot. My youngest daughter, Charlie, saying hello there. And King Pig's Bladders, hi, Matt. Hi, Charlie. And then we have a little bit of confirmation saying that it's Magsy's internet. So there we go. Hope that's on one hand, that's good because it means I've not just sat here then and gone through the chat and spoken for the last couple of minutes for no bloody reason. But on the other side of the coin, it's a bit worrying because I don't really know what I'm doing. So there we go. Sharon, my wife there, showing the utmost level of faith in me. Oh no, Sire's been left to be the technical one. Indeed, it is a bit of a struggle. Cam Griffin here saying, there's your next image, King's Pig Bladders. Mags as Elsa. I actually think we could get a shot of Magsy this week because he's used his trimmers and he's given himself a bit of a shave, cut his hair back and whatnot. And he is looking a bit pale as well. I don't know if he's poorly again. I don't know what's going on there. But he does look a bit like Dizzy Egg, doesn't he? So, yeah, maybe that's a drawing we could have knocked up. And also, Pig's Bladders, I saw the Hall of Lame, drawing on the Twitter attached to the Chain Wrestling Twitter account at @chain_wrestling. Brilliant stuff, mate. As always, absolutely brilliant stuff. Charlie agreeing with her mum, saying that's never good that I've been left in charge of the technical side of things. It is a bit of a concern, isn't it? We have everyone here saying, Matt Lewis, apologies, saying thank you everyone for the kind words, and Charlie saying congratulations, Sharon saying congratulations, and Cam here suggesting just pick a Gilbert match to review as filler side, but it's okay because Dizzy Egg is back. He has returned. Thank goodness.
Yeah, but my internet. See, you jinxed me. My internet absolutely took a crap then. Yeah, so had to do
We
the
ran
whole
through the chat.
resetting things.
Pain in the backside, mate. Pain in the backside. We ran through the chat. We've gone through the comments. I managed just about on my own, despite the fact that my wife and my daughter were mugging me off and saying that it's a concern if I've got to be the technical one now. So there we go.
Oh no, Sai has been left to be the technical one.
Exactly.
Apologies, people. Hopefully that will be the last of my internet issues again.
I hope so. Because I panicked then. Because especially when you disappeared, when you were frozen, it was okay because we got like the half and half screen, almost WCW 1996 Nitro split screen thing going on. I like that. But when you actually went, it zoomed in on me, and I felt like Garth on Wayne's World when him and Wayne had an argument, and Wayne walked out, and they came back on screen, and Garth was just kind of sat there looking at the camera. If you remember, It's a pressure I don't want, mate. It's a pressure I don't want.
Well, now I am back. I will pick up on this comment. The magnificent Matt Lewis reporting.
I struggled with that as well.
Yeah, congratulations, Matt. Lots of love to you and Chris. I hope you had an amazing day. Yeah, I'm glad to see you guys happy.
100%. Oh,
Charlie, you tell me not to lie to you, so I didn't lie. Fair play.
yeah, and she's right. She's right. And I did literally get to the end of the chat just as you re-emerged, which is great because I wouldn't know what button to press to start the whole non-wrestling topic thing, which I suppose we'll get to now, Magsy.
Let me find it first, but yes, we will.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
Yes, that filthy, filthy belch means only one thing. It's non-wrestling topic time. And we had loads of responses to this week's topic, which basically is let's improve things. Let's ban stuff. Let's make laws that can improve the world and change rules in sport. Anything at all was up for grabs, Magsy, wasn't it?
It was, and we got a gamut of topics that the CWF are very passionate about.
We did. It was inspired primarily by something that was said to me by a colleague at work who says that they come up with these ideas, and he wasn't being serious. It was all tongue in cheek, but penalties in football. And he says that it annoys him when somebody gets fouled in the box and then the designated penalty taker takes the penalty. Understands why, but why can't the guy who got fouled take it? And then added on to that, the person who committed the foul should be made to go in goal. And I thought that would be fantastic TV. That
would be brilliant.
That would be great. So that's kind of where we got inspired from for this week's non-wrestling topic. And I'll just run through them on Twitter in the order they arrived into us, Mags, okay?
Awesome.
Which means nothing to you. We begin with Ben at Witticisms of Ben on Twitter. He says, I would improve tutting as it does my nutting. The noise of a tut shall hereby be replaced by the noise of a mating fox.
Brilliant.
That way, the tutter shall be rendered utterly embarrassed, beginning the extinction of tutting. Okay. I mean, how would that work? You go to tut and that noise would come out instead, I'm assuming.
Instead of it'd be the sound of a mating fox, like
I was gonna say, I was so hoping you would make the noise. Is that what they sound like? Is it?
I have no idea. That's an artist's rendition of a mating fox.
Is it? You've only got no idea what a mating fox sounds like because you gag the ones you attack.
Hey, now I have chickens. I have to shoot the foxes.
Very true. Very true. On that note as well, I see that your name has changed on the old StreamYard here at Pod Farmer, Mags.
Exactly.
I only just noticed. It's brilliant.
I only did it an hour ago.
Yeah, well, there you go. It takes me a little while, these things, mate. Connor at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says, I would change the offside rule in football. For starters, in order for it to be offside, the ball must be in front of the defender, where it's dealt and obvious that the defender won't catch up with the attacker, and therefore no more of this arm, toe, nail, nose, etc. offside calls we get now. I'm not 100% sure how he means he's going to change that. I mean, obviously, Twitter is tricky because you're limited with characters, Magsy, so that does hinder people with their response. But yeah, the old VAR thing, it can be a bit annoying, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a particular problem with the offside rule in and of itself. I think a lot is made out that it's hard to understand, and I don't think that's particularly true. But I do agree with the fact that VAR has absolutely ruined offside. It used to be way better when there was it was a little bit more favored towards the striker if they had a good chance. There was a little bit of leeway. Now it's ridiculous. I mean, I've seen people giving offside because they're parts of their body that can't even make contact with the ball legally are offside. It's like someone's hand was in front of someone and it was classed as offside. Yeah, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I agree with him in that. It needs to be just more sensible. It must be applied more sensible.
Needs a bit of tweaking and needs to be, these decisions made a bit quicker as well sometimes. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, having spent so long in customer-facing jobs, I would make it law that staff could reciprocate any and all varieties of shitty attitudes that they encounter. No more pandering to Karens, no more enduring the bullshit. You chat shit, you get shit back. Yeah. I'm about that.
Yep, I agree. I can't stand Karens and the male equivalent Kevins or whatever they are. Just boil my piss. Absolutely boil my piss. And if you give retail staff grief, you should expect to get that grief thrown straight back at you.
Yeah.
So
without doubt. There should even be some sort of a buzzer. You got to stand on a certain spot to talk to the staff, and if you get too aggressive, they can press a button and just shock you or something. Just really try and wind you in a bit.
Just bring back slaps. Just if someone starts being a Karen, and I'd like to speak to the manager, just slap across the chops.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says, "New law. All disputes between friends must end with someone getting thrown through a barbershop window."
I mean, it works. I mean, look how it severed the relationship between Markles and Marta Ginetta. It's a very definitive end to a friendship. I don't know how you'd be friends again afterwards, but yeah.
And I also think that you need something set up, maybe some kind of government funding for all these barbershops that are going to need windows replacing. Because
the glass companies would have an absolute field day.
There you go. At Pigs Bladders on Twitter, he says, I would ban scratch cards. Yeah, they seem harmless enough, a momentary rush of adrenaline, and at worst, you've lost a couple of quid. And for most people, that's what it is. But not for all. I see more and more people. Obviously, he works for a big retail company, so he sees this himself. I see lots of people, more and more people, spending more and more. Some up to £50 cashing in the winners and then buying more, and they do that every day. One chap was spending over £200 a day and never made anywhere near as much back. But it's an easy trap to fall into, chasing that elusive win. Yeah, it's.
I would extend that as well to not only scratch cards, but to these roulette machines that you get in bookies and amusement arcades. They are horrible to people with gambling issues. They just take the people's money, and it's so sad. I have someone who I know who he once won, I think about 150 quid on a roulette, and it got this. You get a paper slip what you then take to the cashier to get your money, and he fed that paper slip straight back into the machine. Lost a lot. I've known people who get paid on a Friday, and by Friday afternoon they've spent all of the money on these roulette machines. So yeah, scratch cards is. I totally agree. it's that instant fix of adrenaline that the next card might be the big winner, and it's just preying on people. So I massively agree with him.
Yeah, fair enough. We have a bit more here from at Pigs Bladders. After a lovely shift at work today, Easter Sunday, he's put in brackets, our shop was the only shop open in the area. Needless to say, it was like a madhouse of forgotten Easter shit. So I would make it so all shops shut on bank holidays. I'm sure people can manage for 24 hours.
But where are people going to get their last minute Easter eggs? You haven't thought about that, have you, King Pigs Bladders? Yeah, you're right.
I would think you'd need something open in case of emergencies, because you get those people that are just dicks and don't bother, and then last minute panic buy and all that sort of stuff. But then, I mean, I've been caught out before when Charlie was very little and we needed, I don't know whether it was she'd lost her dummy or she needed some milk. I mean, she literally was a baby, and I had to go traipsing all over town because everywhere was shut. So in those scenarios, you do kind of need something. But from the aspect that Pigs Bladders is looking at it, just dickheads forgetting stuff. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see both sides of the coin. So yeah, I don't think there's an easy fix then. If that's the issue, I think maybe if a local shop or local shops stayed open, but then like the bigger supermarkets had set times when they closed down, who knows? But yeah, it's pandering to dickheads, which I just don't like doing.
Yeah, well, there you go. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, I know this is a non-wrestling topic, but he's going to break the rules, Magsy, just like you.
Well, just ignore it and move on to the next one.
I'm not going to do that. Wrestling needs a governing body that will investigate and weed out the wrong uns, enforce health and safety procedures, put risk management in place to prevent dangerous spots, and engage meaningfully with trade unions on employment practices. Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yeah, I don't think it will ever happen. If it hasn't happened already, I don't think it ever will. But I mean, I'm not too sure about prevent dangerous spots, because how would you prevent that? You'd end up punishing people after the fact as opposed to beforehand, wouldn't you? Because some people just go and do it anyway.
I think as well you would limit creativity in wrestling, because there'd be so many wrestlers who want to kind of be the next big thing, and they want to do a move that nobody's ever been done before. And if there's kind of like risk assessment in place for them to not do certain aspects of that move, they may not become the wrestler that they had the opportunity to become. The first part, I absolutely agree that there should be some sort of governing body. The issue is wrestling still is a massive boys club. And the people at the top are so well paid and indoctrinated in the wrestling system that there's no way to get that body to govern over the lot of them. So unfortunately, it's something that is not going to happen, which is sad to hear, but it's the way of the world. It's the same pretty much in mixed martial arts, in UFC and MMA, because to have a union, you need pretty much all of the people involved in that industry to agree and get along. And the problem is when certain fighters or certain wrestlers are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, they're not going to really care about the quality of conditions for someone making $50.
No.
It's not in their benefit to castrate the system when they're already making money hand over fist. So it's just not workable.
Yeah, fair enough. Cam at CamGriff92 on Twitter. Anyone using a parent and child space at a supermarket but doesn't have a child present, immediate automatic car crushing. I'm 100% on that.
And extend that to disabled spots as well.
Yes.
I cannot stand when people parking the child, the parent child or the disabled parking. Another thing that absolutely boils my piss. It really does, because those are there for people who are less fortunate than you, and you just, because you can't be bothered walking that extra 10 feet to the supermarket. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear. At Morty and Fitch podcast on Twitter, at Morty_Fitch_pod. As discussed on our show, dressage. Get the horses pissed. Oh my goodness sake. It'd make it much more entertaining. Who wouldn't want to see a horse do a slut drop? Well, me, to be fair.
When I read this, it reminded me of the Phoenix Nights episode where they get a horse pissed in the pub, and it takes a shit on Brian Potter's cork floor, and he's not happy about it. Yeah, I mean, who wants to watch a couple of horses farting about being pissed though? It doesn't seem fun. It seems quite dangerous.
That's quite cruel, isn't it? Yeah.
That's got to be a Fitch.
You reckon?
Idea. If Morty's come up with that, I'm disappointed. If Fitch has come up with it, I'm actually impressed that he's used like commas and things.
Punctuation. Yeah. Millwall Chris at Millwall Chris 1 on Twitter. He says, anybody who doesn't like watching some sort of sporting activity should be buried alive.
Jesus.
This has taken a turn. Along with people who say, I don't really like music. What's wrong with you people? That is true. I mean, not liking sport. I get that. I mean, even that, though. My mum and dad would say they don't like sport.
There's something that you like. There's got to be a sport you like.
Yeah, I mean, even if my mum and dad turn around and say, oh, I don't really like sport, which my dad doesn't, for example, there are still some sports he will watch on TV. You know, it just means literally like football and stuff like that. And those people who go, I don't really like music. What a load of shit.
Yeah, I don't get that. It's one of the most pleasant forms of entertainment. I mean, music, it can excite, it can energize, it can make you it can relax you. It tells amazing stories. How do you not like music? I get not liking certain musics. It's not your cup of tea. Like heavy rock is the devil's piss in it, but
the devil's piss. No, I'm gonna throw something out here now. You didn't have the end of that sentence when you started it, did you?
No. You've only just realised that now. I'd never have the end of the sentence before I start any sentence.
No, fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, there's genres of music that I'm not a particular fan of. I don't like jazz so much.
I don't like jazz.
But somebody likes that kind of music, and they enjoy it. And I don't get when you say that you don't like any music whatsoever. That's ridiculous. You can't. That it's not true. It's just not true. It's just people being knobheads. Isn't it? They're just being knobheads.
Yeah. A bit more here from our friend Cam at CamGriff92 on Twitter. Football need a harder stance and to set better examples. None of this crowding the ref, waving for cards, falling over when you're hit with the force of a fart. Tighten up. Give out reds constantly and pens if they abuse officials, etc. Hopefully that'd soon stop. Yeah, I agree with all of that. The issue there would be if you're sending people off and you go that extra mile and you are super strict and it's a case of, oh, you've dived off, or oh, you've abused this referee off. You're then, I think, going to have to use VAR more because if you're making that definitive decision, there's no yellow cards, there's no warnings or anything. You're really clamping down on it. It has to be 100% guaranteed that you're getting the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think you're going to have more VAR decisions if that was to happen, but I'd be okay with that.
Or maybe we could have kind of like an ice hockey scenario where you have a sin bin. If the ref deems that you've been a bit of a bell end, 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the sin bin, and your team then has to deal with the consequences for you being a pillock, and then you come back on and you behave yourself. Maybe that would work.
Yeah. Do you remember going back probably about 20 odd years? I don't know if this is real. I might have just dreamt this. But
That's a good start.
do you remember when referees had the power that they give a free kick, and if there was dissent, they could move it forward 10 yards?
Yeah, they did used to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because David Beckham would be like, no, don't, because I'd rather it further back here and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But that I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, but now they've got a can of shaving cream where they can mark exactly where the ball goes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? The little can of Gillette shaving cream.
No, I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's brilliant.
Really? I've seen referees draw over people's boots with it, so when they move, the line moves.
Oh yeah, you got to use it properly. You can't be drawing on people's feet. But you think back in the back before this, and it was it just happened in a World Cup, and all of a sudden it was everywhere, didn't it? To my memory. But before that, it was a case of so many arguments. Right, the wall has moved back forward. The referee's got to pace it back out again. They've moved the ball across to a better spot to kick it from. And little dot where the ball was, line where the wall is, job's done. It eradicated all of those problems.
I mean, yeah, I get the point, but it just looks ridiculous.
Fair enough.
Do you remember? I think it was in the MLS when they changed the penalty rule, and to take penalties, you had to have the ball on the halfway line, and you run with the ball at the keeper, and you had to.
That was going back to like the 90s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it wasn't if it was a penalty in the game.
It was the penalty shootout, yeah.
Yeah, it was because if a league match drew, because they don't have draws in America, do they? So if you had a league match that ended level, they would have 5 people run, and you had 5 seconds to shoot. So the referee would blow his whistle, and you could kick it 20 yards in front of you and chase it. The keeper would come off his line. I loved that. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it was cool. You'd see people taking long shots or people trying to trick the goalkeeper into committing.
Yeah,
that was a good way of doing it.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was really good. We have here Glenn Abbott at GA WrestleNet on Twitter. Hello, sir. He says, ban celebrities from doing podcasts. If you've got millions of listeners on a major radio station, there's a big enough platform there to air your views. BBC stars don't need to do podcasts. It's just a way of trying to be trendy. Just leave us enthusiastic amateurs to it. Yeah, fuck them.
Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly agree with this. Every time that there's a new technology or a new kind of media that comes out, it's ruined when celebrities get their filthy paws on it. One, because they take all of the available money in that for people who do the hard graft. I'm not saying that I am bitter that this isn't my job, but you see, for example, the Bella twins, they started doing a podcast. They get paid a hell of a lot of money for doing it, and it's the most amateur bullshit stuff that you'll ever hear. It's ridiculous, and they've only got a podcast because 1, it was the cool thing to do, and 2, they get paid a stupid amount of money for doing it. It just annoys me. I mean, celebrities have started doing TikTok now because it's the cool thing to do, and I think when a celebrity gets involved, it kind of kills the scene because people are going to gravitate towards that celebrity. And as Glenn said, they've got a fan base already. They've got millions of listeners. They've got millions of eyes on their social media. What they're doing is taking eyes off other smaller creators. And yeah, I've never liked that.
I mean, I think there is a place for some of it. I mean, for example, I really like listening to Eric Bischoff's podcast. I find so much of that fascinating because he's done so much, and Jeff Jarrett as well. But then there are other celebrity podcasts I listen to, and you look on their Twitter accounts and they've got like 3 million followers or whatever, and they're up there in the charts of these download numbers and all this. I can't remember who it was. It was an ex-WCW guy, but The sound quality was atrocious. The editing was atrocious. There was moments where you could hear the guy coughing and spluttering and going to his host, I just need to go for the toilet.
Was this the
So
Bang
obviously-
Bang podcast, I think?
No. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, if that came out under our banner, Magsy,
You'd be fuming.
I'd be embarrassed. I'd be devastated,
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go.
But then you mentioned those podcasts, but then you look at the other side of that coin. All of those are fronted by part of the Conrad Thompson group.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
I mean, the shoddy one I was referencing, that was one I listened to a couple of years ago. Haven't gone back. It's not part of Conrad Thompson's ad-free shows or whatever he calls it now. But yeah, the Bischoff one, the Jarrett one, yes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Conrad Thompson is kind of one of those people that jumped on the podcasting scene and milked it dry for all of the money it's worth, which fair play to him. He's a businessman. It's there to make money. But he then said that there is no money in podcasting. But that's because he's taken all of the sponsors and the money. And then smaller people, they have to scratch and claw, even though they quite possibly were podcasting well before Conrad and his ilk dipped their toes in.
I mean, Tony Schiavone's another one, I suppose. Tony Schiavone was approached by Conrad Thompson to do a podcast, said he was going to do it for a while, and his whole motivation was to try and raise money to pay for one of his daughter's weddings.
Yeah.
I got no issue with that. He was getting asked questions and telling stories from his days on the road and so on. That's absolutely fine. And like you said, Conrad's a businessman. He's made lots of money out of this. Good luck to the fella, But when people are, like you said, Maxie, just jumping on the bandwagon, it's just like, come on. The Bellas are the perfect example. I think you brought them up and were spot on there. So it's that time of the week again. We hear from our good buddy Stevo at Total Stevo on Twitter. Who
he does rant.
Yes, he does indeed. Who, if you're not listening to Stevo's WWF history podcasts, go and check them out at Total Stevo on Spotify. You can find it as well at Total Stevo on Twitter. Magsy's been on there. I've been on there. Scottish Danny's been on there. Loads of our group of people have been on there looking at different aspects of that particular time in the WWF, and it's fascinating stuff. Stevo says, to start, I'd ban music streaming.
Going hot.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. It has destroyed the industry, specifically for bands making significant amounts of money. They now rely on merchandise sales, and even then, I recently found out venues now take a cut of that, so I'd ban that too. Yes, indeed. There was Wasp toured recently, and they literally on certain shows didn't sell merch, and the person was sat behind the table telling people, here's our website, go buy it off there. Because I think it was Bristol Academy was one of the big problems. They wanted to take up to 45% cut of their merchandise sales. That's disgusting.
Yeah,
that is terrible.
Think there's been a lot of issues as well with a similar thing with Ticketmaster and Live Nation. I think they're both now the same company, harking up prices of tickets. And the guy from The Cure, I can't remember his name, Mark Smith?
No idea.
He basically went on to social media and said that he fought Arm and Hammer to keep his ticket prices low, and then Ticketmaster started putting the price up. So he basically said that he would refund a lot of people the difference.
That's fantastic.
Taylor Swift and her group of fans actually made Ticketmaster back down on there. They had a policy called dynamic pricing, which basically means supply and demand. If there's a massive demand for tickets, the price goes up. And tickets were and this isn't the resale market, this is on Ticketmaster itself, were $1,000 to go and see Taylor Swift just because so many people wanted to go. And her fan base and her basically caused a massive stink, and Ticketmaster have kind of like backed away from that. But yeah, it's ridiculous how these companies that that aren't musicians, that aren't creating the content or aren't creating the art, make more money off them than the musicians do. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we're pressed for time. We've got a lot of wrestling to talk as well, so I don't want to dive too deeply into it. But a while back, Gene Simmons from Kiss said that rock music and heavy metal and music in general is dead.
Mhm.
And people laughed at him and said, "What about this new band? What about this new band?" and so on. And then in another interview, he had to kind of justify what he meant, and he pointed out if you take, say, Elvis beginning in the 50s, right up to say 1988, 89. And then from the same period, the same, you're looking at 30-ish years, same time period, go from 88, 89 to present day. How many new bands have become megastars in that period in comparison to bands from back then? And he's right. And a lot of it came down to streaming and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's a different podcast for a different day, but yeah, absolutely fascinating points he was making. Steve-O says, overtime bans in retail, stop it. We're struggling enough, and you think banning people coming in is the solution to save money. Idiots. Yeah, let people earn money.
Yeah,
If there's overtime there, let them earn the money.
exactly.
My brother and I know many will agree that getting rid of a maximum speed limit on the motorway at night between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. and you can drive as fast and obviously as safely as you like between those times. Traffic lights, if red, are safe to go through if you're allowed to drive through legally and safely. Okay, I understand. So if the roads are dead, I guess it's leaving. The issue with that is you're relying on people having common sense, and a person can be smart, but people are fucking idiots.
Yeah, but then on the other side, the autobahn in Germany, where there are sections of the road that have no speed limit, and they are generally the safest roads because people. I don't know what it is about being able to go as fast as you possibly can, but there aren't as many crashes as there are on roads that have speed limits. So it does work, but you do have to rely on people not being bell ends, which is hard.
Tricky, yes. Steve-O adds to the VAR discussion. He says, I know it's not the technology, but ban VAR. I hate every goal scored. We go and check VAR. Fair enough. Ban Pure Gym for playing music between 12 and 5 at full blast as if you're in a nightclub. Okay. I mean, I can understand why they would have music on, but I like the idea that people, put your headphones on, listen to your own stuff, or if you don't want to hear music. Do you know what I mean? It's,
you're right.
I'd automatically ban anyone that can't adhere to the driving of the speed limit, i.e. doing 15 in a 20.
I don't really agree with that one. I say to the wife a lot, it's called a speed limit, not a speed target.
No, he's saying about being under dramatically.
Yeah. The speed limit is the fastest you are allowed to go. It's not a target. You have to get to that speed.
No, fair enough.
You can drive slower than that speed. I get the annoyance of ridiculously slow people. They piss me off just as much as anyone. But I do also think that it's not a target. Not everybody wants to drive at 70 miles an hour.
Fair enough. And Steve also says he'd ban 20 mile an hour speed limits in London, full stop, apart from around schools, obviously.
I mean, I do hate the 20 mile an hour speed limits, but I get why it's there. It's to curb accidents with children. So,
okay. Well, he does say apart from around schools. So,
I mean, children don't just only hang around schools, though. That's usually nonsense.
Fuck's sake. Steve-O continues. If anyone reads this in the fantasy Premier League community, there's a few rules they'd want to change. I'd like to speak to Steve about that and see what he means. I dabble a little bit with fantasy. I'm no good at it at all, but I'd be interested to see what rules people would like to change. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Chris Bellis at Real Chris Bellis on Twitter. I would happily make a new rule where nobody is allowed to be offended by anyone's opinions or beliefs. This is no way condoning the stuff people say sometimes, and extremism in any form is still evil. But we all have a core belief system that won't fit in with everyone else. Interesting.
Yeah, live and let live. I like that philosophy.
And lastly, on Twitter, I think it is lastly, we have Ja at Yalmoroit
I
on
love
Twitter.
this one. I love this one.
Moaning. He would ban moaning. Here's me moaning about moaning. You ever seen a game of moaning tennis? Most days at work and when we meet with mates, does my head in. So draining. I've drained myself moaning now. Stop moaning, smile and do something about it. Fair enough.
That is a motto to live by if there ever was one. Just
Indeed.
shut up moaning.
We have one more, Magsy, via WhatsApp from our good friend Matt Lewis. There you go. First time I said that about screwing up. On WhatsApp here, he says, I've always said that when I come to power, not if, when. When I come to power, then I'm making changes. So expect these laws come to pass immediately, my lord. I'm making it compulsory to drink beer with every meal. Okay. Anyone unemployed will be anyone unemployed will be employed to drive old people around and look after them. Might be a bit of a hindrance if everyone's drinking all day, but okay, fair enough.
I'm seeing flaws in this plan.
Yes. All lower league football must let all under 16s in for 3. Yeah, that's a great show.
Yeah, I do like that one.
We need to fill the lower league grounds, definitely. Anyone driving too slow on the motorway will be picked off by snipers, hand selected by me. Oh dear. Okay, so you want people to be drinking all day and then driving very quickly, or they get shot. Is that kind of what we're
driving
getting at?
very quickly with elderly people in the car with them?
Yes, indeed. Rushing to get their children to football for nothing, and everyone will get a turn being town crier in their town. Brilliant. Announcing births, deaths, and most importantly, last call for each pub. That is awesome. Would you want to be town crier, Max?
I would love to be town crier for a day. I think I would get permanently banned from it after one day, but yeah. I'd have a do at that.
Fair enough. Also, thanks, Mags, for hating on Karen's. That's my mother's name.
Well, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's not people named Karen. It's Karens.
That
you don't have to be,
yeah.
You don't have to be named Karen. Some Karens are lovely.
Indeed. I had an ex-girlfriend called Karen when I was 13, 14.
I bet she was lovely.
Yeah, well, a long time ago now. I'm an old man now, aren't I? But yeah, she was actually half of a twin, Magsy.
She was half of a twin.
Half a twin, yeah, just the bottom half. No, she was half of a pair of twins. Yes. People used to ask, how did you tell them apart? And I thought it was quite easy. Karen used to paint her nails black, and Malcolm had a cock. So
brilliant.
Yes, so there we go. Shall we dive through the chat quickly before we actually get on to talking a bit of wrestling 90 minutes into this podcast?
Where did you get up to on the chat?
I'm not sure.
We'll get there. Anyway, Matt says, we love you all, and I can't wait for Dan Griffin to tell you my Mag's impression. It gets better when drinking. I don't agree that that's true. Sharon says, a mating fox scream sounds like someone getting attacked. Jesus. She also says the offside should be clear and obvious, like other decisions are. Yeah, exactly. King Pig's Bladder says cattle prod all the way. I mean, that solves so many problems. Having a cattle prod, if someone's a knobhead, bzz. Yep, not wrong with that. Cam says if someone is complaining, they should have to hold a phallic object. Yeah,
give them something to shake at the person.
Sharon says, also markets in Gloucester shut on Easter Sunday, but obviously the smaller shops stay open. Yeah, that's as long as there's somewhere for you for emergency, not just if you, I fancy a beer, I'll leave it till the very last minute to go down and get him. Yeah, that's your fault. Cam says a set of rams for wrestling would be a right nightmare. I agree with Rob. There should be some sort of protection to all involved in the sport. Yeah, I agree. Now performing the slut drop, Shergar. King's Pig's Bladder, I'd watch. Jesus. Matt says, with regards to music, he doesn't have a favourite kind, but everybody likes some music, even if it's bagpipes. Yeah, I mean, bagpipes are cool. the recorder. That's the triangle. It's all music. Cam says, get rid of VAR as well. Cards galore. Maybe my rugby bias, but we call the ref sir, etc. Just boils my blood, the shit that footballers carry on with. Yeah, absolutely. Matt says, if they're not drawing over their boots, it's proof that if they're drawing over their boots, it's proof they're not back far enough. Yeah, again, it's just ridiculous when they draw a line and then the footballers can just move that line because it's their line, is their boots. Cam says they're still doing rugby side, even if you're telling yourself to fuck off after giving a penalty, where boom, 10 yards. Yeah,
Right,
good.
okay.
Cam wants to know what our thoughts are when they scrub out the white line or if they have a corner when it's barely on the line. The corner thing annoys me so much. I mean, what does that extra millimeter what does it make up? It's ridiculous that a footballer has to have it the furthest away from the corner to cross the ball in. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the rule is the whole ball has got to be over the line for it to not be whatever, hasn't it? You know?
Yeah.
So they're not breaking any rules, so it doesn't really bother me. And I understand some places, like lower league grounds, like the corners can be a bit worn. And I mean, Old Trafford as well, for example, you've got that really weird drop off right by the goal line, haven't you, at the Stretford end?
Yeah.
So that's a bit weird. But just in general, it is a bit of a funny thing to do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. On to the podcasting, and Cam says the Bellas wouldn't get anywhere near being on the SJP World Media Channel. I mean, that would be a decision for the boss.
I don't know who that is.
The Bellas, you're the boss, clearly.
No, right, yeah, okay, right.
Sharon says if they actually have something to say, then I think why not? It's when people like the Twins do something because they're getting paid. You should do it for the joy, not just because.
Yep, spot on. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we make money, fantastic. But yeah, spot on. Oh, Magsy Monday cough.
Exactly. Matt says he's coming on to the Steve-O show soon. So yeah, that'll be a cool listen. And then he says
coming up on Steve-O.
I mean, is that a double entendre?
Well, I'm reading it as is in the chat because Sharon actually makes a comment next that you're going to probably find quite amusing.
I didn't see that one. Make sure he's aware then, Matt. No one likes that kind of surprise. Wash your mouth out, Sharon. Matt, King Pigs Brother says, Matt, I'm still waiting for my piece of cake. And then Matt says you should have asked Dan, Rob, or Chris to bring it back up. King's Pigs Brother saying he likes this new world order, referring to Matt's law plans. And Matt agrees there may be flaws in it.
Yeah, teething problems, mate. That's all. Teething problems. It'll be fine.
King's Pigs Banner says a group of Karens are called a complaint. And then Sharon picks you up on your stupidity once again. Only half of a twin. She was half of a twin. Charlie, that was enough there for Charlie.
Yeah, I'm going.
Had enough. My dad is an idiot. He thinks that twins come in halves, and she's off. But yeah, that's the chat all caught up.
Brilliant stuff. Speaking of pigs bladders, we have had a lovely image sent to us on the Chain Wrestling Twitter account at chain_wrestling. And we have just here, if you can make it out, Magsy as
it's bullying. That is bullying.
Magsy as Dizzy Egg. So
not Sarah holding the hands of a half of a twin or anything like that. But no,
well, that's only, to be fair, that's only just happened. You got to give the guy time. Creativity does take time.
It takes time. It does.
Magsy, we better speak some wrestling, mate, because time is a flying.
I mean, it's not a long match that we have to watch, but let's do it anyway.
Let's get ready. Let's get ready to rumble.
One last time.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Crack on. You'll have to insert music here.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
I give up. It's not going to work, people.
It works that time. I saw it.
It didn't work for me. But anyway, if it's on the audio, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Um, the match that won the poll this week was my selection, surprisingly enough. And we are heading back to 2005, a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico, which is
Yes.
topical, as Magsy pointed out last week, because we have a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico coming up via the WWE. This is New Year's Revolution, and we're looking at the Elimination Chamber match for the vacant World Heavyweight title. Now, I could not remember this when I put it forward. People in the chat that night said that it's one of the better Elimination Chamber matches. It's a great shout, etc., etc. Even halfway through this, I'm thinking I must have watched it. I must have, but I still couldn't remember it. It was almost like I was watching it brand new, Magsy. Is this one that stands out in your mind? Have you seen it recently, or?
I've not watched it too recently, but I did remember the match. I remember that the storyline going into it about the crumble of Evolution and Triple H, kind of almost belittling Batista and using him as a lackey. And then I think that, if I remember rightly, was the title vacant because I'm sure, was it Edge? Edge and Benoit, I think, were in a match, and Edge had pinned Benoit, but Benoit had also got the submission on Edge. I think it was Edge. I might be wrong.
There's a piece of commentary in this match where it says that Edge has never been world champion.
It may not have been Edge though, but the reason why the title was vacant was because there were two referees involved in this match. One had seen that Benoit had won the match. One had seen that his opponent won the match. It's going to annoy me now that who it actually was. Was it Trips? It might have been Trips.
Right. Okay.
It's very likely it actually was Trips. But yeah, the title was held vacant because of that. And then
you think trail end of 2004.
Yeah.
So Orton won it at SummerSlam 2004. He dropped it to Triple H. So that would make sense, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, it was held up by Eric Bischoff, and then a chamber match was organised. I believe in the run up to the chamber match, they had like a gauntlet where the person who won their match the quickest got the last spot in the chamber. So they came out sixth, which ended up being Batista. So yeah, there was a lot of moving parts in this match. Edge had an issue with Shawn Michaels, who was the referee. So there was a lot of moving parts. And then obviously you've got the whole Evolution thing there. And then you've got the make weight of Jericho and Benoit, who are brilliant workhorses, but no real storyline going into this, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose they were just there to kind of make the numbers up, and like you said, they were the workhorses, weren't they? Does make you wonder, why wasn't Michaels involved in the match itself then? Was he injured at this point? I don't know.
I think he had a knee injury, if I remember rightly.
So he hadn't just lost his smile or some nonsense.
No.
But there we go. I mean, I suppose when you look across the Raw roster, Michaels does an argument there as the biggest star they had at this point. Him and Triple H, you'd think. Yeah. You look at everyone else though.
Triple H was kind of forced into the biggest star position, kind of like the Roman Reigns, where it was that Triple H reign of terror era. Yeah. But in terms of actual star power, Shawn Michaels is head and shoulders above anyone in this match.
Yes, indeed. In case anyone missed the lineup, I guess Shawn Michaels is the guest referee, as Magsy said, and we have Edge versus Triple H versus Randy Orton versus Batista versus Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit. What a collection of entrance themes these guys have,
and a lot of like the old school ones as well.
Yes,
Randy Orton's original.
Hey,
so good. Batista's original one. Yeah, some great entrance music. I mean, it's just an elite level collection of wrestlers.
Yes,
isn't it? You look at it. I mean, obviously Benoit is kind of the outlier, but in terms of wrestling, these are some of the most talented wrestlers that the WWE had in a long time, and 90% of people involved in this match are Hall of Famers. It's just outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding quality.
And again, with Michaels and then Flair's on the outside as well. It's just everywhere you look. And on commentary, Jim Ross, it's all top level, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Something that I found really interesting was obviously an Elimination Chamber match, especially back in the day, because nowadays I don't enjoy chamber matches like I used to, because you got the crash mats out, and I don't want anyone to get hurt, of course not. But back in the day, it was brutal, wasn't it? It looked terrible and painful, and there was the blood came into it and so on. This is in that era as well. But the two wrestlers who start the match, Benoit and Jericho, they basically give us that 5-minute section, and it's basically mat wrestling, Mags, isn't it?
Yeah. Get the technical mat wrestling out of the way. Yeah. Get that technical wrestling for the fans that are invested in that. Yeah, it's some classic mat wrestling. It's really good, and I've always been a massive fan of the Elimination Chamber, just because it was a brilliant twist on the old trope of a cell or a steel cage match. Very unique, like it's daunting to look at, but there's the potential there for some really cool spots, and the fact it surrounds the whole of the ring, and you get this this kind of extra lip that is level with the ring. It felt so unique. It got milked, especially in the era when it got its own pay-per-view. But these first few were amazing. Each one brought a new kind of there were so many unique spots that came from these early chamber matches. It's just, they were so good to watch.
Yeah, without a doubt. A few early moments this crowd, first of all, is hot. They are loving the entrances alone. Say that everyone's getting huge reactions from the crowd. Yeah. And then the mat wrestling, it doesn't calm them down, but they're taking in what they're seeing until Benoit starts hitting some chops, and they go absolutely crazy for every chop Benoit throws. They love that side of things. Benoit attempts a sharpshooter early on, and then we have a superplex by Benoit on Jericho. And then the first chamber is going to open. The first glass chamber is going to open, and we get the countdown in Spanish from the crowd, which I think is fantastic. I love that.
And the fact that commentary mentioned it as well. It just showed that Puerto Rico is a very unique but cool place to have a pay-per-view. It really stood out.
Triple H is next in, and Chris Benoit is the first to effectively hit the chain, Maxie, and he starts bleeding straight away, and that kind of sets a theme here because everyone ends up bleeding at some point or another, don't they?
Yeah, and even before that, Trips he throws Benoit into the turnbuckles a couple of times, and Benoit unleashes his hidden inner Bret Hart. And he hits them turnbuckles with so much force. The first one, it almost rocks the entire chamber. First one slams him into his back, and then he goes into the middle of the ring. But then he hits one chest first, the classic Bret Hart. But he hits it so hard that you think he must have broke some ribs with that. It just brutal. But then we get the spot where he's whipped into the steel on the outside, and he's busted up. And one thing that did kind of grind me about this match is that when everybody was whipped into the chain of the chamber, they grabbed hold of it just for that extra couple of seconds, just to add the gravitas of what had happened. But that would have been cool for one, maybe two of them, but every single wrestler did it. They were all thrown into the steel, and they all grabbed hold of the chain for a couple of seconds before dropping down. And it kind of killed the mood of it a little bit. But it did show how brutal this match can be.
Triple H attempts a pedigree on Jericho, which is countered into a backdrop, and he falls onto the the steel on the floor, effectively, isn't it? It sort of comes across from the apron out, and we get the horrific noise of them hitting that. And I think Triple H's selling of that is superb because he hits it a few times, and I don't know if it's the size of the guy or just maybe the noise it makes as well, but you genuinely believe this guy is in a great deal of pain, don't you?
I mean, he's got to have been, even in terms of wrestling. You are thrown or you land on solid steel, it's going to hurt.
Yes.
There's no crash mats there. There's no padding. This is steel. So yeah, it absolutely hurts. But Triple H is so good at selling that pain, that anguish from it. Yeah, it's just a great job by him.
Yes, indeed. Edge is next into the match, and Jericho and Triple H are both then sent into the cage, and then they start bleeding. But Triple H isn't a blade job just yet. He's got that big prominent beak, hasn't he? That huge nose.
Triple H, how has he not had more cuts to his nose than this? When he gets that cut, it's like a little tiny scratch across his nose, and I don't think he even made contact with the. I think he was still in the ring when his nose hit the chain. It's that big of a hooter. But yeah, it looked ridiculous when you get the zoom in on Triple H and he's got just almost like a red plaster over the top of his nose. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Jericho's bleeding like a stuck pig. Benoit's bleeding, and Triple H has got a bloody nose. It's ridiculous.
An insecurity by Chris Jericho gets a near fall on Edge, which then Jericho turns around and gets hit with a pedigree by Triple H at that point. And that's when Randy Orton arrives, and he goes straight for Triple H, doesn't he? Because obviously the big storyline here is, as you said, Magsy, the falling apart of Evolution, and Orton's already left, but we're getting the tease of Batista, and it heads into WrestleMania that year. And it was fantastic TV, wasn't it? Really great storytelling in that era.
It was, yeah.
An RKO on Jericho, and then an RKO attempt on Chris Benoit, but that's countered into a crippler crossface. And I like this because you see so many times in matches, multi-man matches, where somebody's in a submission hold or somebody's in a pin attempt, or somebody in a Royal Rumble, for example, is going to throw somebody over the ropes, and then some other guy randomly helps them, and it makes no sense whatsoever because it would favor them surely for the person to be eliminated. So whilst this crossface is on Jericho, Triple H is in the face of Jericho screaming at him to tap. I thought that was great, because it makes perfect sense.
It slaps his face. It slaps Randy's face whilst he's in.
Oh, Randy, sorry, not Jericho. Yeah.
It's slapping him. Like that's what you would do if one of your biggest enemies was getting beat up. You wouldn't save him, and like you said, it's ridiculous that it happens in wrestling. But yeah, Triple H was such a dickbag that he was literally slapping Randy in the face. But then when Benoit lets that go on and then gets takes the legs of Triple H and goes for the sharpshooter, Randy, because he's a face at this point, saves Triple H by hitting a low RKO on Benoit. And one thing I did really notice with Randy is just how different his RKO is this early in his career. It's the setup to it now. It's made the move way more devastating than it was then. Watching it in this match, and I think they said in the commentary, Randy was like 24 years old at the time.
Yeah,
it is literally just a stalling diamond cutter, whereas now it feels so much more of a move than it did here. It was just interesting to see the evolution, pun intended, of Randy's finishing move.
Yeah, it was indeed. Edge accidentally spears Shawn Michaels, the referee. Was it Orton he was aiming for? But then Orton moves, or
yeah, I think so. Was it Orton? Yeah, it was Orton.
Right, because then he does actually hit Orton with a spear, but there's no referee. Michaels is down, so Edge is frustrated and cross, and he slaps Shawn Michaels. So Shawn, as he should, hits the Sweet Chin Music, which then enables a lion salt from Jericho, and Edge gets pinned, and he is out. And I loved that because it was so. You said the phrase already, Magsy. There was so many moving parts in a match like this, anyway. Not just storyline wise, but with regards to the people in it. So many moving parts. We've got the guest referee as an additional moving part as well. But it was so smooth and so believable, I guess. And Jim Ross on commentary just sells it so well as well. I just think it was absolutely fantastically done.
Yeah, and it's not even like the spot went perfectly because Jericho, when he hits the lion's hold, he has to throw himself halfway across the ring because Edge just isn't in the perfect position. But they pull this spot off really, really well, and it then continues the story of Shawn Michaels and Edge at each other's throats after this pay-per-view. So yeah, it was really, really well done.
Yes. We then see a Chris Benoit diving headbutt from the top of one of the chambers. That was, it was spectacular, but knowing the history of that move, and not just with Benoit, with the likes of Harley Race and
knowing
Dynamite Kid and so on.
Knowing how that move affected Benoit, to see it's at the time, it would have been a massive pop moment, but knowing what we know now, it was hard to watch.
The Walls of Jericho are applied on Triple H, and then a crossface is applied at the same time.
This kind of thing I absolutely love.
Yes, it's so good. And the storytelling again, because the only person left to enter the match now is Batista. He is the last person to come in, and everyone knows Batista is there, basically to aid Triple H. He's working with him. He's part of Evolution. He said he'll go for the world title if Triple H is already eliminated by the time he gets in. But here we have the countdown, and it's can Triple H hold on in these two submission moves until Batista arrives? And it's just fantastic storytelling. Again, the drama of this. And again, Jim Ross on commentary sells it superbly. But then they have a little bit of a glitch because they can't get the door open in time. But which I think plays into it more.
I thought it played really into it because Batista was itching to get out of that cell, and Triple H then had to stay in two of the most brutal looking submission moves for that little bit longer. So yeah, I thought that added to the drama, and then you get the kind of build up before the match of Batista speaking with Randy Orton, and Randy kind of putting that seed of him being the next person that Triple H is going to turn on, and then you've got Triple H questioning Batista's loyalty, and Batista having to explain his position. There was so much drama in this storyline. It was so well told, and for that little bit of unintended addition with the cage door opening, I thought that just tipped it over the edge. It was a really well done spot.
We do then get that kind of stare off between Triple H and Batista, don't we? And again, Jim Ross is shouting, "Do you want to win the world title, Batista? This is your moment. Are you going to go for it?" And so on. And then I think it's Jerry Lawler on commentary, literally telling JR to shut up.
Yeah,
and it's so good. It's so good. Jericho then gets press slammed onto a cameraman. That looked uncomfortable for the cameraman and Jericho both.
Yeah, but good selling from the cameraman though. He was out like a light for a little while. But is that the spot that leads to Ric Flair being able to come into the match?
Well, the door's open because they bring the referees in to get treatment for the cameraman. But then they shut the door again. But I'm not sure if they lock it properly, and that's how Flair gets in towards the end, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which again, it makes sense because they've got to get the cameraman treatment. So it's not just a case of, someone's got in the cage. It's good storytelling again, I think, Max.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Batista hits a vicious looking spine buster. And he then hits one on Jericho as well. And ends up pinning. Sorry, he hits a spine buster on Benoit, and then hits a spine buster on Jericho onto Benoit to then pin Benoit. That was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and then you have Jim Ross on the commentary saying he has never seen anything like this before, and really kind of selling the fact that Batista is an absolute beast, because up to this point, Batista's not been a huge star. He's been kind of the muscle for Evolution. And this match really puts Batista in that main event picture. It's almost like a coming out party for Batista. I mean, he's out last in the match, but he's involved in pretty much all of the finishes from then on, and he just looks like an absolute animal. And you can understand why he got that nickname. He was just so good.
Yeah, very good. A Batista bomb means that we say ta-ra to Jericho. He is now out. So we're left with a very Evolution-heavy final field. We have a 2-on-1, effectively, with Batista and Triple H. The heels at this moment in time. Obviously, we know where we're heading with Batista, but at this moment in time, we're both heels there. Orton is the babyface. And again, it's almost like another little different section in the same match, because you've got this 2-on-1 beatdown. Triple H getting more and more frustrated because Orton just keeps kicking out. And I think this does. I mean, the crowd don't react massively to Orton in this segment of the match, because I think everyone at this point is kind of getting to that point of they want Batista. You know, that they're about the Batista Triple H potential rivalry that we end up going with. But I think it makes Orton look very strong because he kicks out so many moves here that, and then we then come to the finish. And again, it's that so many moving parts again, Magsy, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, all leading to, I think, did Orton go for the RKO? Triple H shoves him into Batista. Then Batista goes for the attempt at a power bomb, hitting the balls. Then the RKO, and this is where Triple H's mastery of telling a story in the ring comes through, because we see Orton get the pin on Batista, but the camera has Triple H sat basically beat up in the corner, and he has the opportunity to save Batista from this pin, stands up, and then goes back down. So whilst Batista had Triple H's back, Triple H didn't necessarily have Batista's back, and it's really subtly done, but it's front and center. You know that Triple H is thinking about one person, and that's Triple H.
Yeah, such great storytelling, and just the timing of it all is superb. Shawn Michaels then is dealing with Batista's eliminated. Shawn Michaels is dealing with Batista because he's trying to get in and carry on fighting. An RKO is hit in the middle of all this, so there's no pinfall because Shawn is distracted by Batista. Then Flair gets in the ring, so Shawn has to turn around and deal with Flair as Orton half gets up from this RKO, and Batista damn near takes his head off with a clothesline.
Yeah, that was brutal, that clothesline.
And then Triple H hits a pedigree and wins the match. And I mean, from my aspect, before we get into our scores and breaking it down, I thought this told so many great stories all the way through. And then the finish of Triple H not helping Batista when he potentially could have. Batista still then helping Triple H and him retaining, or it's not retaining, but winning the vacant title. The big question for me in wrestling all the time, we speak about it loads on this show and on Nitro Nights and so on, is where do we go next with regards to people and characters and storylines? This obviously leaves so much open for where we can go next with regards to the storytelling they're doing. I think it's an absolute masterpiece in storytelling, Max.
Yeah, and one thing that I really loved about the end of this match was the callbacks to how Triple H dealt with Randy Orton when he first won the title. He had Batista there with Randy Orton on Batista's shoulders, and Triple H giving the thumbs up and then turning the thumbs, kind of like the Roman Emperor. We got that kind of scenario in the Elimination Chamber with Triple H on Batista's shoulders and Ric Flair giving the thumbs up. Now, obviously, we don't get the spot where Trips turns on Batista just yet, but the callback to Triple H doing that to Randy Orton just a few months earlier. Yeah, it was just so sweet.
Yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. I mean, this is going to be high for me, Magsy. Out of 10 for yourself, what are you thinking?
It was a great match. It was really, like I said earlier, these early chamber matches are so good. It's so innovative. Yeah, this match told so many great stories. The action was crisp. You got a lot of blood, a lot of intrigue. There wasn't a moment in this match where I would say the match lost me and I was kind of drifting. It's an 8 easily for me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to go a touch higher than that. I think, as you said, the storytelling was superb. The mat wrestling at the beginning was fantastic. We had so many great spots, great moments. The timing of everything going on in there as well. These are guys at the top of their craft. These are guys that are masters of their craft.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes me back to an era of WWE that I was invested in Evolution. I was invested in Orton when his turn happened and the Batista stuff and so on, but couldn't quite remember this particular contest. I love this format of Elimination Chamber matches as well. The early ones, as you said. Such fantastic storytelling. So many great moments. I think for me, Magsy, I look at this in comparison to the very first chamber match that Shawn Michaels won at Survivor Series. I gave that one, I think, a 9.5 or a 10. I think I enjoy this one just as much. So I'm going to pull the trigger, mate. I think this is a 10 for me. I think it's
Really?
I think it's that good. I loved it. I was captivated all the way through. All of these guys played their roles perfectly. So many great moments throughout this contest. And then again, the storytelling, the Triple H in the corner moment, and I just absolutely loved it, mate. I loved it.
I mean, I see your point. For me, it's not. I wouldn't have said it's a perfect match, but it was highly entertaining. So I'm happy with my 8 score.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. So then, where shall we go next week, Magsy? What would you like to put forward as your link in the chain?
This is a simple and easy one. I love this breakdown of a Evolution storyline. So I want to keep this show on the road. I want to jump to 3 weeks into the future from this pay-per-view, and I want to watch the 2005 Royal Rumble, which sees Batista earn that spot at WrestleMania. And we get the pleasure of seeing Vince McMahon's quads explode. So that's a little bit of a bruisey bonus. So yeah, I want to watch the 2005 Royal Rumble match.
Why? Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my notes, and you can just read at the bottom there where it says link Psy. Can you make that out there?
I can.
It says 2005 Rumble. That's what I wanted to put forward as well. Because I
There
thought
we go. So
what a
there's no poll for you this week, folks.
Oh, we should have a poll, shouldn't we? Should I put forward something different? We should do.
I mean, is this the first time that we've had this very same
It's happened
thing?
once. It's happened once before, and I had a backup.
Have you got a backup this time?
I did have one. I was just going to go straight to the 2006 Rumble as my backup.
Oh no! I say no, Paul. We've let these reprobates dictate to us. It's not often we agree wholeheartedly on where this should go. I think you enjoying this storyline. I'm enjoying this storyline. We'll not give them an option for the poll this week. We'll take that power back. Vince McMahon will take the power away.
Oh, that's controversial, mate. That's controversial. But there we go. We'll have to wait and see what comes out on the Twitter poll. Maybe it'll be
you little sycophant.
The 2005 Royal Rumble, or maybe it'll be Dave Batista wins a Rumble match in 2005. Maybe those would be your two options. Right?
How can you not vote for Vince McMahon and his exploding quads? Yeah. It's just an amazing scene, especially the fact that he was pissed off that the match ended in a draw in the first place. He was so angry, he exploded his own quads.
Oh, there we go, mate. There we go. Interesting though, mate. Both of us going the same way. Very interesting.
Once in a lifetime that happens. So give us this one,
Yeah.
CWF.
We did give you Gilbert Appreciation Night.
We
And we
did.
are planning at some point in the next few months a Barry Horowitz Appreciation Night and all this other nonsense,
I
aren't we?
forgot about that, Jesus.
Okie doke, there we go then. So Maxie, I suppose there's not anything else popping up in the chat, is there? Nope, there's not, other than Sharon little gun sign saying that I'm pulling the trigger on a 10. So
I'm shocked. I didn't think you would enjoy it as much as that, but I understand why. Yeah.
I loved it. Just the drama, all of it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, there we go. Do you want to let people know whereabouts they can find your good self online, Magsy?
Down here, it's not actually at Pod Farmer Mags. I may change my Twitter handle to that, actually. It makes sense. But yeah, on Twitter, at Pod Farmer Mags, on TikTok, at Mags All Pods. That's where you can find me, or back here next Monday.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Anything I'm involved in, you can find on the network that carries this show. That's at SJP World Media on Facebook and Twitter. There is a group on Facebook, so join the group there. You get links to all the shows and so on. And obviously the Twitter feed, you get all the links to the shows via there as well. But if you search the SJP World Media Network on all your podcast players, platforms, and providers, you will find the streams that basically take you to all of the episodes that the network carries. This show itself, however, you can follow at @chain_wrestling on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you do get involved in our non-wrestling topic and all the other great stuff we do. Magsy, I cannot believe this is clocked in at just over 2 hours. I thought this show was going to be much, much longer, considering the massive main event.
Look at that, how concise and crisp were.
Technical errors. Professional.
Yeah, we're so good at this thing. So you should come back next week and watch us review the 2005 Royal Rumble.
There we go. I am off now, Mr. Mags, to have a little think about what other late 80s computer games characters you might look like. I'll have a couple for next week.
Piss off.
The Heartbreak
Kid. Piss off.
It's not. It wasn't letting me end the broadcast. I think we're still live.
Are we?
Yeah, I think so.